Hello, everybody. Today I'm with Jonathan Otto, the CEO of My Red Light, and it's a product that I think a lot of you guys would be interested in, and it's something that has helped out a lot of people. So, Jonathan, what is red light therapy? How does it work? What does this product exactly do for those who are curious and wondering?
Sure. Well, Jack, red light therapy is certainly something that is taking the world by storm. It's getting to that point where people are really talking about it because there's somebody that they know that had some kind of massive challenge, health condition, and they turned it around with red light. There's more and more people talking about this. There's a lot of social media buzz around red light therapy, and it's because red light therapy is interfacing with the way our bodies were designed. So if you look at how life is sustained, not just humans, but animals and plants, we all have a direct connection to sunlight. And this is so important that we can't survive without it. Plants certainly wouldn't grow without it. We rely on plants, but there's this intricate relationship. And then you have texts and historical texts or religious texts like the Bible that talk about light preceding all things. Let there be light, and then later comes plants, animals, humans, and they all have a direct connection. So whether you believe, whichever worldview you come from, light is the most responsible thing for life. And so when people have an ailment in the body, the best thing to do is to use light to turn that around. And what happens with light is that when it goes into the body, the receptors in your body that are designed to pick up light, which include the mitochondria, then take that light and convert that into substances such as ATP, adenosine triphosphate, which is a fluorescent substance. So a fluorescent substance is helping create within the body another fluorescent substance. Singlet oxygen is another example. It's a reactive oxygen species. It's fluorescent. It's glowing red color, and in fact, it's used in military settings. Has been, not traditionally used, but it has been, to shoot missiles that are airborne. And so your body actually generates this reactive oxygen species like singlet oxygen, and it destroys unhealthy cells, including the big C word, which everyone is scared of, and rightfully should be, because it's claiming so many lives. But singlet oxygen is arguably the most powerful thing to combat these toxic cells in the body that need to undergo programmed cell death, which is apoptosis. So light therapies are working to generate energy within cells, to clear out disease cells, senescent cells that are zombie-like cells, and then it's replacing that, and that energy is now used for regenerating healthy stem cells, healthy mitochondria, and then maturing those healthy stem cells into normal healthy tissue, whether it's an eye cell, heart cell. And so we're really getting to the apex of what regenerative medicine really is with red light therapy. And it's the reason why we're seeing so many blockbuster results for all different types of conditions, whether it's a thyroid condition, various autoimmune conditions, whether it's rheumatoid arthritis or myasthenia gravis, or you just keep going, osteoporosis, and so many different conditions. You look at the studies that exist on these conditions, look at the studies that exist on the big C word, and whether it's breast, colon, prostate, lung, bone, these studies all exist, and there's not just a few hundred, there's not just a few thousand, there is more than you could ever get through. Okay, so Google is your friend. Do your own research and look at how light therapy can help you. And it's through these mechanisms. And when you harness the mitochondria, you're also harnessing the natural detoxification systems for your body. So your body will naturally, your cells will naturally detoxify, take toxins out when they have the energy to do so. And they'll perform these functions inherently without need for supplements or binders to do this work. Your cells will do it under the presence and the stimulation of light.
And the device, if I'm not mistaken, that people can buy is right behind you. Is that correct?
Yes, exactly. This is one of our devices. I'm traveling, so I've got one of the kind of medium to smaller size units with me, which in this case, if you're looking on our site, which is myredlight.com, this is an example. This is the RL Pro 200 or the RL Pro 200. And what you can see there is you see the RL Pro 300 and the RL Pro 300 Max. And so you can make selections there. If the one that I'm using, and a lot of our colleagues and friends and family are using, is the RL Pro 300 Max, because it's going to cover all your organs. But yeah, this is a perfect thing to look at, to understand, and it's an amazing device, right? So whether you're getting this device or whether you have a device that's covering every organ in your body, right, from head to groin area, which is with like the RL Pro 300 Max, which is also taking the width of your body, generally speaking. And it, it's a very powerful process, and we've done something really special with that as well, Jack, where we've got 9 different wavelengths, and this is part of the reason why you'll see something unique here as well, which is the fact that we've added in even the blue light here, and I can and so these are dual LEDs, so I can get them to change. So you'll see red and orange now, and every LED has near infrared coming out of it, or thereabouts. And so near infrared is the 800 and up spectrum, and these all penetrate bone and interior tissue and the brain, the lungs, whereas the red is going to penetrate the dermis and get closer towards the epidermis, but it's getting through the skin. But it's being used for even different types of chronic autoimmune conditions, but targeting each of these layers in the body, like the shallower and the deeper layers, all at the same time, is one of the most powerful things to do. And so I can just show, like, for example, here, if I put it on fat loss, if I put it on, I've got different modes here where I can even select. And so I can put it on the pet mode. And so now it's like, here you'll see some of the blue that come out.
So the different colors do different things, is what you're saying. And there's multiple modes on that device for, different uses.
Correct. You got it, man. And those, the studies are super interesting because there's certain conditions that are only aided by certain wavelengths. Like there was a study on the breast C word, which is both triple negative and non-triple negative breast C word. And this is on PubMed. People can read it. They tested 4 different wavelengths. It was 615, 630, 660, and 670. So 4 different wavelengths, all very close, and they're all red. So this is red, for example. You can see the red, you can see the orange. That orange is at 590. The red is anywhere between 630 and 660. The deeper red is the 660. The more pinkish red is the 630. The blue is 480, which is not to be can be confused with high flicker blue light, which is toxic and harmful. But because it's a consistent source through in this case, a light emitting diode, it's a very healthy and helpful source of light. And then here, what you're doing with these different wavelengths is you're targeting different areas of the body. And so back to this study where they were testing the 4 different wavelengths against these breast C origin cell lines, they found that it was, out of all of them, it was 660 that was the one that was effective. And it was the only one that could drop the breast C word proliferation by 40% in 24 hours. So people can look at put in the keywords, put in 40%, put in the words that I'm not saying right now, listen to what I'm saying, and then put those keywords, and you'll find all of this information straight from the NIH website. And so light therapies are becoming the most sought after, powerful therapies to use for anything that people are battling with. And arguably, it's the one universal thing that people can use for different types of conditions. And what we did as well, because like I just mentioned that there was 4 different wavelengths tested. We put 9 different wavelengths into our device, right? So it's 480, 590, 630, 660, 670, 810, 830, 850, and 1060. So all of those 9 different wavelengths are very critical for different functioning of the body. And so I'm really excited that we were able to harness all of the benefits there of those wavelengths for those certain conditions that mean that it's catching everything. It's a full spectrum device, and yet we could deliver the amount of power that's necessary. In that case, it's measured in irradiance, which is typically measured in milliwatts per centimeter squared, and we're over 205 milliwatts per centimeter squared at 3 inches. which is more powerful than the devices most often in clinics that people are spending $100 to $200 for. Typically, they range between about 50 to 80 milliwatts per centimeter squared, but because of the type of LED, it's a 42 mil chip. There's certain reasons why we've got a higher amount of irradiance in the chip that make it more successful in delivering light into the body, and then the result is more powerful. The more light you get into the cells, the better the outcome, and the right wavelengths, and in this case, 0 EMFs, which is important because you don't want a toxic exposure, especially because I'm encouraging people to be really close. Ideally, you're like an inch away, 3 inches away, and naked in front of it, or as partially clothed as possible, and watch what happens. See the results you get. It's spectacular.
And it can help your skin. It can help many other aspects of your life besides just your, internal health. And that's a very good thing. So
Yeah.
another thing about it is having one of these devices is convenient as well, because you essentially will have a device on hand and it will save money over time. You could go, to a place that has red light therapy. It's inconvenient. It's not as efficient, and just having it in your house is something that would save a lot of time. It would save a lot of money. It's a good investment. Now, there was a study that you touched base on some of the studies. I believe there was a study that showed that the patient's rate for what you called the C word were 4 times more likely to achieve complete remission than those who were just undergoing regular treatment for the C word. So how exactly does that work? And I mean, a lot of people will hear that. They'll probably be a little bit skeptical, but what's the science behind that?
Yeah, absolutely. They should be skeptical. You should be skeptical of everything you hear, and you should do your research always. And then you'll see what I'm saying is absolutely true. So it was published in the Lancet Oncology, and it was a prostate big C word study, and it was 413 participants, and it was a 2-year study. If that's not enough people and that's not enough time, I'm not sure what would be. Because remember, there's a control group, meaning that there's a group that didn't get to have the light therapy, which means that there was a group that had far less outcome of achieving remission than the other. And how long do you want studies like this to continue where people don't get treatment? Believe me, I could never be even involved in a study like this. It's just too horrific. Like when you talk to the families and let them know that they were in the placebo group and they didn't get it, and the other group had 49% that went into remission, and the group that didn't use light therapy was 13.5%. That's a 400% increase, just short of 400%, 4 times greater the likelihood of beating it. In this case, the prostate C word. And so what we're finding, and that's something called photodynamic therapy, where they're adding in a photosensitive agent, which the most common and popular one that has a lot of buzz, and it's good that it does, which is methylene blue, which causes an increased absorption of light into these cells that are, I'm just using the right words here. Can I use these words? Senescent cells, disease cells that need to undergo apoptosis, which is programmed cell death. And so it's going to increase the absorption of light into these cells, help them undergo and complete that process. And then while actually helping and aiding the healthy cells, because it's supplying oxygen to cells, and cells actually go through breathing. It's cellular respiration, and they're using light to undergo these critical steps, which include cytochrome C oxidase and nitric oxide. And it's that reason, this cellular, what cellular respiration is actually the same reason why scientists, when they put light in front of the eyes and they watch that for 3 minutes with the eyes open, and then they study how much did the eyesight improve as a result of this 3 minutes on average, and the answer was 17% immediately. And so this was at 670 nanometer light in this particular study. If you were under 40, the results were as high as 47% in short periods of time for the light therapies. And so the light is causing the body to generate oxygen, and that oxygen is highly reactive. It will destroy diseased and dying cells, big C word cells, and while aiding healthy cells and improving anything from eyesight to reducing inflammation to improving the outcomes of chronic autoimmune conditions. And one of the last studies I'll bring up was the thyroid study, as chronic autoimmune thyroiditis. which is hypoactive, underactive thyroid. Participants are on the light therapies for 5 weeks. They're taking it for 20 minutes twice a week, so not a lot, and then they get taken off it. Now, 9 months after they started treatment, which is about now almost an entire 8 months without the light therapy, 47% of them don't need LT4 at all anymore, so they're off levothyroxine or Synthroid, same thing. And all of them don't need to take near as much, so they have a significant decrease. But even though they were only on it for 5 weeks and they were off it for close to 8 months, in this case, 47% of them didn't need the LT4 anymore because their thyroid was naturally producing it. The same thing is true arguably for anything organ function wise. If your cells are not producing energy, they can't perform functions, which include producing thyroid hormones, which include detoxification, which include repairing unhealthy tissue, which include repairing your diseased and damaged organs. So light therapies are the most important, and because you have mitochondria in these essential organs that account for around 25% of the cell, that are responsible for energy production of the cell, that are connected to the stem cell production of the cell, that when those mitochondria are producing energy, they can generate and regenerate stem cells, help those stem cells mature, because everything requires energy. And once energy is harnessed by the body, you can actually live well because your cells are functioning well, healthy, and in a proper function. So it's that simple, Jack. And I'm really glad that we had the opportunity to chat about this. And I'm sure we can point people in the right direction with this as well.
Yeah, and one more thing about the obesity epidemic. It's out of control, as we know. I mean, a lot of us have friends who are suffering from it as well. Can this help with weight loss? Because it does seem as if it regulates your body in a certain way, could it improve your metabolism? How would that exactly work? And what's the process behind it?
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm glad you're asking about that. It's getting used instead of liposuction in
Oh,
not just
really?
in studies, yeah, in clinics. And there are cases, and there are a lot of cases on this, and it actually is quite typical where people will lose inches in their first sitting and continue losing inches. And on average, there's studies show an average of 5 to 6 inches over a period of 5 to 6 weeks. Just without changing anything diet-wise, and that's across the body. So it's a significant reduction. Imagine if they stacked in some other dietary protocols at the same time. It makes it easier to do dietary protocols as well when you're on light therapies, because they'll help supply the brain with what it's lacking. And because often people go into the wrong foods because of what they're trying to self-medicate, and they're looking for things that are helping them. But the studies are diverse in this. So there's hypotheses for how this is working, where it's breaking open the fat cells and actually causing a disruption there, and causing the melting, if you will, of the fat cells. That's one of the theories behind why this is working. There's lots of different mechanisms though, because if you look at the thyroid studies on Hashimoto's and hypothyroid cases, that the body mass index improves in all settings in these studies across the board, and the hip to waist circumference, all of these are undergoing improvement. And that's partly because the thyroid is correcting its functionality, and it's also because there's inflammation. And if you look at studies on even edema and swelling, there's a great study on the Bothrops asper snake, and you can actually counter the effects of that envenomation with red light therapy, which is super cool to even think about that. And it specifically says it counters the edema and myotoxicity. And so edema, this swelling that we take as just fat, I'm just fat, or I'm just, which is not, I don't use these words because it's still not, it's kind of cruel how people talk about themselves or about each other, when these are often really very much just health conditions that are often not people's fault as well. They're results of toxic inflammation and things like that. But in this case, it was wiping out the edema that was associated with the snake bite, which is this water retention that's happening because of toxicity. So it makes sense why people lose inches in single settings. And I've seen it firsthand a lot of times. And people are getting like massive weight reduction. And it's because it's countering all the toxic effects. And the fact that the body is storing this weight because of toxicity, and they're dealing with the inflammatory process. You're dealing with inflammation while helping to remove toxins from the body. So people should actually expect to lose a lot of weight, and from the areas that you want to lose them in, like the belly, like the face, and so it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. And you guys can find this product at myredlight.com. That is myredlight.com. And the code to save 10% on your purchase is just Red Eagle. The link will be in the description and the pinned comment down below. So, Jonathan, thank you for your time today. I appreciate it.
Thanks so much, Jack. I appreciate you having me. It's been a real pleasure sharing with your audience. And thank you guys for tuning in, watching, and enjoying this content. And most of all, I pray it's a blessing for you and your family. And my encouragement is for people to take action on information like this. It only really makes a difference if you use it. If you don't, it just is interesting information. But I want you have your family be happy, healthy. And that's what I choose for my family. We're a little family of 4, my 2 boys, my wife, and we use our red light device all the time, and it's one device that our whole family can use. We're not all ordering one. We don't have to keep reordering them. It's the cheapest thing people can put their money into, because it's one and done. And then you could do it in payment plans, 6, 12, 24 months, or a 4-pay or anything like that, to make it possible. And you save so much money because you're spending so much money on so many different things. And the most expensive thing, Jack, is when people start losing functionality of their body and start getting diagnosed with things that then cost a lot when you go down, whether holistic or conventional paths. And so what we're doing is helping people to get out of that whole maze of things, get out of that rat race, and use therapies that are regenerative, and just know that you're really not spending, and because what you're doing is you're substituting, you're changing, and you're also changing, most importantly, suffering for health and wellness and happiness. And so that's the best shift to take. And that's the most encouraging thing that I can say and bring people along the line. Say, do that. Make yourself better. Make your health better. Take action and advantage when you have opportunities in front of you that you could change your life forever. And so thanks again. And it's myredlight.com, and using the code Red Eagle on checkout to get 10% off discount. So thanks again. Thanks, Jack. Appreciate you.
Yep. Thank you, Jonathan. Appreciate it.